Buying new seeds or saving them from plants that you already have can be really fun, but organizing them is even more important, not only for your sanity, but for the longevity and viability of your seeds. So let me show you my favorite method and two methods that just aren't worth the trouble. When you're just starting out as a beginner gardener, seed purchasing is one of the most fun things. There's so many varieties out there, and you'll end up probably with a bunch of pouches that look like this, with seeds that are not organized and may not even be for the same season. What this can lead to is your seeds being in a bunch of different packets and a bunch of different places, and I'm still finding packets of seeds in weird parts of my house when I started out as a gardener from years ago that I didn't even know that I had. The next step that many people take from here is that they take all their seeds and just dump them into a bin. And if you're getting rid of your seeds pretty quickly, you're planting whole packets, and you don't have a whole lot of seeds on hand, that can be perfectly fine. But if you have a couple hundred seed packets or even more, finding them in one bin or even two bins that are completely organized can be a little bit chaotic, and you may be tempted to just buy more seeds because you can't find the seeds that you probably already have. Method number two is to make a seed binder, or use a binder that you probably had back in college or grade school, and organize by the name of the seed. So A for arugula, C for calendula, and so on. And again, that can work kind of well similar to the first manner, where if you only have a few seeds and a few varieties, you can keep them all in one or two binders. But the problem is, say you get one variety of arugula, and then after that you have your beet seeds, A, B, and then maybe C for calendula again. That works great so long as you only have one variety of arugula. If you add another variety of arugula, or add some other edible variety that starts with an A, now you either have to move your arugula back if there is a space, move your beets later, and you can see how it can kind of get a little clunky pretty quickly. Again, it might motivate you to get rid of seeds and move stuff so you can make space, but if you're playing the long game with your seeds, because most seeds can last for years, it just doesn't make a lot of sense, which takes me to my favorite method, using photo organizers for your seed packets. This is a really popular method of organizing seeds because photo organizers are pretty cheap. They're usually $30 or less, and they generally come with something like 16 different little organizers like this, and you can organize them however you want. For people who have shorter growing seasons or tend to grow the same things year over year and don't really experiment with a lot of different varieties, we'll tend to organize by season. So you might take one of these and make it your summer crops. Put in your favorite tomatoes, your peppers, your eggplants, cucumbers, you get the idea. But again, if you have a lot of varieties of the same thing, it makes sense to organize it the way that I organize it, which is by type. And the reason I love it is because it's completely customizable, and if you start getting more varieties of the same seed and it starts to deserve its own category, you can split it up. For example, I have one little organizer right here that's just herbs. There's a lot of cilantro in here, and I'm right around the corner from making a separate organizer just for cilantro. But up until now, one slot for herbs has worked up great. Now, here in the front of my first organizer, I have 3 slots or packets, whatever you want to call them, dedicated to peppers. And I love growing habaneros, so I have one that's just dedicated for habaneros, and if you can see, it's actually pretty full. Then I have spicy peppers, non-spicy peppers, and you get the idea. I also grow a lot of tomatillos, so I have one that's just dedicated for tomatillos. Same thing for carrots. I don't have a lot of different grains, so I group corn and grain together. Corn packets tend to be pretty hefty, and that's another reason that they don't really work well in the binder method. That's a pretty thick-looking little seed packet, and that's true of corn, some varieties of squash, and let's see if I can find it, under my beans. I love growing fava beans and garbanzo beans, and garbanzo beans are a pretty thick packet. So if in your binder you had your garbanzo beans, whether that's a B or a G, next to some pretty skinny stuff, this would just kind of make it lumpy and not particularly pleasant. Now you very well could stop here, organize your seeds, store them in a dark, cool, and dry place, and think about it when you need to think about it. But I take it one step further and get even more organized with it by putting all of these into a Google Sheet, and let me show you why. Now you might wonder why bother doing this. If you already have all your habaneros in a habanero slot, you know where the habaneros are. But not every seed variety is so clear-cut. Take, for example, my medicinal herbs. Some of those could be native plants, some of those could be flowers, some of those could be edible varieties in another category, and so it's nice to know if I'm looking for, say, echinacea, which is a beautiful, perennial flowering medicinal herb, and it could easily go into a number of categories. But by having it in a Google Sheet, I can just search, type in echinacea, and I see it's in my medicinal 2 little slot. The color coding isn't just for fun aesthetic purposes, it's also so I know where I got the seeds from. This can be helpful as I'm doing long-term experiments to see which germinates and which does best in my climate. For example, my favorite pepper to grow is chocolate habanero, and it is incredibly difficult to germinate and probably the slowest growing pepper that I've ever grown, even compared to Carolina Reapers, ghost peppers, and things that are even spicier. By making note of where I got the seeds from in here, I can kind of plan and experiment a little bit more freely. One other reason that I have it all here on my computer is because, you know, I'm not out in the garden and I'm not with my seed packets all day every day, but sometimes inspiration strikes and I want to do a little garden planning. I want to think about, you know, the season's coming. If I'm in spring and all of a sudden I'm thinking about, oh, what peppers am I growing? I can just look right in here, no matter where I am in the world, and get a little planning in and see if I need to order seeds or if I'm good and covered. I could go a step further in here and organize the seeds based on their expiration, but generally most seeds are viable for 3 to 5 years and some even longer. There are some seeds that even in ideal storage conditions start to decrease in germination, like parsley or corn. But again, if you have enough of the seeds, you can just sow more and what germinates will germinate. So now that you know the background, a little bit more of the why, let's organize some seeds that I just got in the mail from one of my favorite seed companies, Plant Good Seed. I absolutely love their seeds. Pretty much every native plant and medicinal herb that I have comes from them. They're a wonderful small company in Ojai, California, which is about as close as a seed company can get to me here in Pasadena. Today I got arugula, comfrey, which I'm super excited to start, a little bit more hibiscus, and then chick lupine. Last year was the first year that I grew a royal blue lupine, which I also got from Plant Good Seed, and it was a huge success, both in germination, ease of growth, and the pollinators loved it. So I'm expanding to another native lupine in my area, chick lupine. Now, this is a pretty clear-cut flower, so I'm gonna go into my spreadsheet and see which of my flower containers has more space. Right now, they're pretty evenly spaced out, so let's look and see, again, which has the larger seeds and which has room. Flowers 2, let's take a look, is pretty full. Here at the top, we've got Daydream Cosmos. And then Flowers 1 has a little bit more give in it. Here's that royal blue lupine that I was talking about. So let's put the chick lupine with it. I'm gonna close this up. I'm gonna grab my Delio right here. And I put that, I said in Flowers 1, so at the bottom of this sheet, I'm gonna put in chick lupine. And Plant Good Seed, I use this kind of orange color, and boom, there we go. So we've got the chick lupine sorted away. We've got hibiscus, comfrey, and arugula. I know I already have some arugula seeds, but they're pretty old, so given that it's my favorite leafy green to actually eat, I wanted to get some more that I know is gonna germinate and do a little bit better. Let's look. Where is arugula? Arugula is in leafy greens 2 right now, so I'm gonna go ahead and stick it with the same thing. I don't have just one seed organizer, but 2. So let's take a look in the second one. I forgot to mention that I also use empty seed organizer slots to store empty seed packets and large bundles of seeds. So take this one right here. You can see there's a big old black thing in there. That is a bulk collection of cilantro seeds that I saved in the late summer when everything was bolting. It's too big to put into my dedicated herbs container, but I know it's here. And another nice big seed packet I have, also from Plant Good Seed that I haven't planted yet, is these microgreens, which I'm planning to get going pretty soon. That's the beauty of having extra space. And then I have both empty seed packets that I've bought online and then good seed packets labeled empty from seed companies that have nice resealable packets. The Plant Good Seed ones are pretty good. Also a big shout out to Urban Farmers. Their seed packets are wonderfully resealable. So let's bring it on back now. I have the arugula. I said arugula was in Leafy Greens 2, which is over here in number 2. Leafy Greens 2 has some space, so let's throw the arugula in there, seal it up, and make it out. So now in Leafy Greens 2, we've got arugula, and we're gonna color code it to match where it came from. Moving on, we've got hibiscus. And I know this is a little clunky right now because I've got my computer over there. If you have this at a desk, it goes so much quicker. Hibiscus, I've actually saved seeds for my own as well as got seeds from a friend of mine, but I don't remember where they are offhand, so I just type it in. It's under Flowers 1. I very well could have done this when I was putting the new lupine in there, but you know what? It is what it is. Let's go Flowers 1. It's right in front of me. How delightful. So we're going to put hibiscus in Flowers 1. It's also labeled as Jamaica or Red Roselle. I use it mainly to make hibiscus tea or agua de Jamaica, but a lot of people use it for different things. So I put the hibiscus in with the other. I'm going to type in hibiscus right below the chick lupine, and we've got the color code. And then the last one of the new Plant Good Seeds is True Comfrey. I'm going to call that a medicinal herb. And I'm going to look, I have 2 medicinal herb packets right now, medicinal 1 and medicinal 2. You can clearly tell I'm labeling them in a very inventive way. Medicinal 1 has a nice bit of space, so we'll put the True Comfrey in there, put the medicinal herbs back, and then put it into my spreadsheet. I did also just get some seeds from another seed provider that I haven't ordered from in a while, but we'll organize them. I got red ruffled pimiento pepper, golden yarrow, narrowleaf milkweed, another thing of narrowleaf milkweed, and then some dwarf sulfur cosmos. Bit of a cool story here on the narrowleaf milkweed is last year I did a garden install where we put in a bunch of narrowleaf milkweed seedlings, and it was so cool to see how the monarch caterpillars just showed up and just stayed there for so long. It's a really cool plant. I have common milkweed, but I'm adding this to my collection, and I'm both going to be planting the narrowleaf and the common milkweed in my garden. It's a bit of an interesting germination process, so there'll be a follow-up video on that, but pretty excited about this. And then the dwarf sulfur cosmos also have a fun story for me. Last October, I was in Guadalajara for a wedding, and as we were driving out of the city to where the wedding venue was, I saw these beautiful orange flowers all along the roadside in the tens of thousands, and it just seemed to do wonderfully well with very little intervention. And then when I got to the wedding venue, there was luckily some just outside, so I went up, took a picture with my phone, and it told me what it was, sulfur cosmos. So I got some for my garden, and I can only hope it'll do just as well. The golden yarrow is an obvious choice. I love having yarrow in my garden, and I can never have enough. And then this is just a pepper that they sent as a gift, which I like. I don't tend to grow a lot of non-spicy peppers, but hey, I'll take it, and I'll probably grow it. So let's add that into the non-spicies. The golden yarrow, it's more of a flower than it is a medicinal. I'm gonna add that to flowers 2. The narrowleaf milkweed, I'm gonna add that to flowers 1. And then the last, the dwarf sulfur cosmos, add that to the same spot as well. And then last on the agenda for the seed saving, at least as of right now, is some sugar baby watermelon seeds that I saved a little while ago and I just had sitting in a Ziploc, but then I finally got my seed packets. So I'm gonna add these to, where did I put the watermelon? They're in squash and. So this is a kind of funny example where I probably should make a fruit one because I know I have cantaloupe in here. I have a couple different watermelons, but I will do that at a later time. So that's all in there organized now. These are just empty seed packets that I'm gonna stick here because later today I'm gonna be organizing all of my popcorn cassia seeds that I saved. I have thousands and they're actually already up on my website right now, which you can find down in the description. And if you're wondering where to get these photo organizers, I'll link them down in the description. I've bought them from a few different places, and so long as you're consistent with the source, you'll be happy and it'll be easy to organize. I hope that this has been helpful for you and that you feel empowered and encouraged to go organize your seeds rather than just go out and buy duplicates of the ones you already have. But once you have them organized, you can also go buy more fun seeds because you have a place to put them now. Next up on my to-do list, I'm gonna be starting a bunch of these seeds. So if you wanna see that, let me know in the comments and any questions you have about seed starting. I'll see you guys in the next one, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you around.